Did you already cover Twitch running ICE ads and the petition going against it? Wait, Twitch is running ICE ads? Gross. What the hell? Bro, what is happening? I swear to God. Dude, Amazon, Twitch, basically everybody at this point is just like, yep, we're in it. Full tilt, you know? That's gross. How does it feel to be in the land of Pritzker? Feels pretty good. YouTube has been spamming IOF ads. Chief Keef wants to collab. I wish. Shut up. I wish that was the case. I would. Well, first of all, he's not even here. I think he's in LA. So he used to be here back in the day. Hang out with Pritzker. Yeah, I don't think Pritzker is aching to hang out with me anytime soon. But yeah, let's look at Andrew Cuomo's cringe post first. Okay. In case you forgot, I'm Andrew Cuomo, son of Mario, grandson of Andrea. Welcome to the heavyweight bout at Zoran Mimdani. This is a two-man race. You look tired already. It's just the second round. Someone says, I don't necessarily like you, but this does go hard. Appreciate that, Mr. President. Your father is a legend. Zoomers and probably most millennials don't know. He was a special person. It's just like, oh God, BLT exposed Pallywood. Of course, ad from fucking Israel. Sir, this is a Wendy's. I'd like fries with that. I genuinely believe these responses are bots. Yeah, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is like a new Andrew Cuomo hired some fucking millennials and Zoomers in his social media team to just like start blasting dumb shit like this, I guess. Felix says, guess what, Zoran? I don't just have a dad. I also have at least one grandpa. That's right. I come from a family. You know anything about those? Pray you don't run into me before around 5:30 p.m. when my brain stops working and my staff shows me into a panic room. Yeah, he's impression farming. I saw someone say that if you read the Jakarta method, Hassan is a grifter or he's going to lead his fans to ruin. I think a lot of people want to discredit how effective you are. I just joined PSL and became a Marxist-Leninist because of the Hasanabi pipeline. Yeah, some of that is just like people who are crazy. Others are, I think other people are genuinely doing it for a sinister purpose because they just have like they are ideologically opposed to my worldview, and that's all it is. Yeah, but Cuomo is definitely Brandonizing. He is sundowning for sure. That's not a joke. Like I have noticed this as well. There is a big Brandonization initiative taking place. Okay. That's what's taking place for sure. Tuesday, big protest in LA outside a federal building, just in case you want to plan for that. Yeah, I'd pull up to that. They mentioned Hassan in the Jakarta method. No, dude, what? I wasn't even... When Vincent Bevins wrote that book, I wasn't even a person. Like, I wasn't even like a known person in the online... in the online arena. Some of it is ego wanting to outgrow you. That for sure is a part of it too. Wait, I'm in PSL because Mike Hassan and a few others encouraged me to get active. Thank you for that as well. Yeah. My favorite Cuomo moment. Okay, that's from Cumtown. Check out early highlights of Greenblatt's New York Times interview. Hopefully they rake him over the coals, but I doubt it. Yeah, we'll start off with my op. My op, Jonathan, was on the New York Times interview. Some people warned me about this ahead of time. I don't even know how you guys knew that was coming. But if you recall, I talked about it briefly, but I was definitely a little bit worried that the New York Times interview with Jonathan Greenblatt, he was just going to be like, why are you guys platforming Hassan? He's the worst. Seemingly he doesn't do that because I haven't seen anyone mention it. I haven't actually seen most of the quotes, but they're not even like raking him over the coals per se. I just need you to understand, like, the criticism that is launched towards Jonathan Greenblatt in this moment is actually far less than what he deserves. And this is just a way to try and rehabilitate his image, I think, because he is still supposed to be like the most esteemed anti-Semitism combating institution in the country. And because he's dropped the ball so spectacularly in broad daylight, in real time, in a way that like even like liberal Zionists are frustrated with, that he has to like go back and bring a veneer of credibility to the ADL as an institution. And this is the only way he can do this. You know, he's gonna have to pay the piper, basically, where he will take it on the chin a little bit, but ultimately this is to rehabilitate not only his image but the image of the ADL as well, so that they can be more effective in cynical smears of anti-Semitism against anti-Zionists like myself and many others, because they're clearly way more predisposed with combating anti-Zionist sentiment, anti-Israel sentiment than they are about like actual anti-Semitism. So let's take a look.
Just committed to saying we will do what we can to prevent Jewish self-determination in their homeland. Anti-Zionism is an ideology of nihilism, Lulu, which would literally seek to not just delegitimize, but eliminate the Jewish state. And that's very problematic.
So you have equated anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism.
It is.
And I will say that in preparation for this conversation, I talked to a lot of different people. And one of the things I heard is that anti-Zionism for them is a desire to have the rights of Palestinians be equal to the rights of Jews in Israel.
Yes. Cook. Wow. Okay. That's not bad. From the New York Times. Let's see where this goes. Great. Anti-Zionism takes many different forms, but first and foremost, it is about the humanity of Palestinians. Okay. Something that conversations like the Jewish state, like whenever you talk about Israel as the Jewish state or a Jewish ethno state, you're literally dehumanizing the Palestinians that live there in real time, and you're basically engaging in incredibly reactionary, incredibly racist conversations that are angled as though these are genuine concerns of Jewish safety. Okay? That's what this is. It's just because of the ADL and many other like fake Jewish advocacy groups that are simply invested in advocacy for Israel, but masquerade as Jewish advocacy groups. They've been able to so successfully change this conversation. They've been able to so successfully couch incredibly racist, agitative propaganda as though this is a serious fear that Jewish people have. Okay? That's it. Because that's all it is. Because at its most base, when you talk about anti-Zionism, like one person, one vote, equal representation for all Palestinians, all non-Jews living in the occupied territories, a lot of people, even liberal Zionists, will be like, well, they would kill us all if they had, the right to vote, which is literally the same thing that people said about black people in the Jim Crow South. Like, oh, we can't give black people the right to vote because they'll just fucking kill all of us. And it's like, dog, how can we on the one hand look at these quote unquote civil rights organizations like the ADL making this kind of like incredibly racist argument while simultaneously having to like listen to them as like serious arbiters of what is and isn't acceptable speech in public. Okay? It's so crazy.
And the Palestinian territories, the idea of sort of, I guess, the one state solution, if you will. Is that definition of anti-Zionism to you anti-Semitic?
Well, look, if you believe that only Jewish people don't have the right to self-determination, that's anti-Semitic because it's holding out Jews to a double standard you don't accord to other people. So,
Bro dingus. Jews live all around the fucking world. That's why even as an ethno-religion, okay, it's unique in that regard, right? Because most people they just have an ethnicity and then they have a religion. Judaism is an ethno-religion, okay? But the reason why there are Jews from all different places on the planet is because there are just Jewish people that come from different sub-ethnic backgrounds, like subgroups. There are Arab Jews, there are Spanish Jews, there's Western European Jews and Eastern European Jews. You know? Like you can't just say like self-determination for Jews for the Jewish homeland when it's a project that requires the ethnic cleansing and displacement of the indigenous population there. And on top of that, it's, I mean, yeah, you got Ethiopian Jews, you got Jews in Uganda, bro. You got Chinese Jews, there's Jews everywhere, you know? And it's just like, oh, there's just this one area that they can all go to and congregate. And it requires, that area requires it to be like a Jewish ethno state, okay? A Jewish ethno state. Then all of a sudden, you're basically doing, you're doing, oh, what the hell? Little F. That was quick. We're back. I don't know what happened, but we're back. It's not a big deal, right? I mean, it was just, what the hell? Yeah. Spam 2's in the chat if you see this. We're doing a test. Spam 2's in the chat. Okay, there's a couple seconds. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. Okay. It's not the end of the world. All right. Ghost of Spectrum coming back to haunt you. Yeah, it's a couple seconds of delay. It's fine. What is this? A study conducted at the University of Miami found that they're doing studies on Twitch raids. That's crazy. Have detrimental impact on community engagement. The erratic nature of new chatters causes existing community to disengage from the conversation. Damn. Let's continue.
Do you believe my definition of Zionism, which is really not my definition? It's widely accepted. It's peculiar to me how anti-Zionism isn't the opposite of that. How people choose to interpret it.
Bro, you can't just say it's like Jewish self-determination. It's like saying white self-determination. Okay? There's Jews everywhere, just like there's white people everywhere. Okay? Oh, I don't get it. Like, I just want white self-determination. Why can't I do a homeland for whites? Okay? I don't get it. Everybody else has a homeland. Why can't we have a homeland for whites? It's the same shit. Like, regardless of the history of marginalization and pogroms and even the Holocaust that Jews have withstood historically, Jews in Israel are the dominant group. Like, it is the supremacist group in Israel. So when you make this argument, it's no different than a majority white country talking about how we got to get rid of the non-whites. And that shit's happening right now in the United States of America. That's like a real point of conversation at this very moment. That's a real thing that we have to combat here in the United States of America. Okay? And that's a real thing that has happened in other countries historically, like Rhodesia. Okay? Other countries have historically done this exact same argument, right? They don't obviously exist anymore, thank God. But that is the same argument. And I hate that, like, we have to entertain this. Like, I hate that, like, woke institutions or liberal institutions, like, quote unquote, progressive institutions, entertain this, like, very clearly supremacist, reactionary, right-wing ideology, this fascist ideology, you know? We recognize that kind of language here in the United States of America as fascist. We try to actively combat this language, the permission structure basically expanding so that this kind of language is like appropriate to use in broad daylight. Unfortunately, in spite of people's pushback, it still doesn't matter. It's still popping off, especially in places like Twitter, right? And yet you have a person who is responsible for a civil rights organization in air quotes, saying this kind of stuff. It's crazy.
Embellish it, just sort of dress it up as something other than what it is. But the reality is, if you believe how I laid out Zionism, then anti-Zionism.
You are oversimplifying this. Israel is a multi-ethnic society that's forced to identify as one ethnicity to counter the Palestinians, yet they are racist to each other. What? Yeah, I know. What do you mean? I am oversimplifying it because I'm trying to explain it to people. What? He's noticeably avoiding discussion of self-determination of the Palestinian people or how the self-determination of the Jewish people insists on the suppression of it. Exactly. The entire Zionist project relies on suppressing the self-determination of Palestinians, allowing the Palestinians to have sovereignty. That's what it is. The entire Israeli project revolves around this. The entire Zionist project revolves around this.
And it was pretty simple.
I think the challenge is if someone
Under modern international law and structures, all nations have a right to self-determination. That is, they have the right to govern themselves. They do not have the right to displace others to achieve it. Yeah. Except this has been a problem from the start because this original movement was around Palestinians and their self-determination outside of, existing under the rule of colonial powers, whether it be the Ottoman Empire or whether it be the British, right? But at that same time, once the British Empire took over British Mandate Palestine, they basically engaged in a settler colonial operation by sending as many Jewish people to this area as they possibly could. This is Zionism. This is how Zionism started. And they did that for a deliberate purpose, to create a settler colony that could be controlled and maintained in this resource-rich region, right? That's it. No, it didn't start before that. This is post-Balfour Declaration. No, it didn't start before that. Before that, under the Ottoman Empire, there was like 2% of the Palestinian population was Jewish. They lived there alongside the Muslims and Christians as equal citizens under the banner of the Ottoman Empire. So that's not... Wait, is it effing again? What? Zionism was a thing before British mandated Palestine. The British didn't start it. No, Zionism as an ideology had no fucking motion before the Balfour Declaration. Okay? Theodore Herzl went to the Ottoman Empire and asked to get the land known as Palestine at the time, and the Ottoman Empire refused. They said, fuck no, that's not going to happen. So you're wrong about that. Pre-Balfour Declaration and pre-Christian evangelical Zionism, this movement did not have any fucking weight to it whatsoever. And in spite of the idiots bring up jizya to say they weren't equal, yeah, I know. That's irrelevant. So basically, even before the Nakba, okay, while there was periods of struggle and revolts and riots against like the settler colonial occupation that was taking place, ultimately there were still a fuck ton of Jews that were living there that, lived in villages side by side with Palestinians living there, okay, with the Muslims and Christians that were living there. So the notion that this was always like an incredibly violent seizure of land is somewhat false, which is ironic because like a lot of Zionists actually use that as a counterexample to be like, well, this was peaceful, like we bought the land, blah blah blah, all this stuff. Like there's truth to that. There is truth to that. Okay. As a matter of fact, that peaceful relationship was utilized under Plan Dalit during the Nakba for a bunch of Arab villages, a bunch of Palestinian villages that weren't actually aware of the planned ethnic cleansing operations that were about to take place. You didn't blast off? No, I did. Earlier. I've just fallen off, chatter. Anyway, here it is. It's pure racism to think that Jerusalem, the capital of the Sikh Lord, would not be multicultural as New York City and therefore the rest of Palestine as well. Oh, no, for sure. Yeah, only 2 viewers. There were literally just Jewish Palestinians there, and some people either accidentally or unknowingly speak as though those are two contradicting things. Yeah, no, for sure. Zionism existed before the declaration, but was incredibly fringe before it. Even after, in 1922, the U.S. Jewish Labor Council voted unanimously to condemn Zionism as an ideology because they saw the writing on the wall. Yeah, no, they're like Zionism as a substitute, as like almost like a secular national religion, is a relatively new phenomena in the 3,000 years of Jewish history. It's so new. It like even in its inception, it wasn't as poppin'. It did not like most Jews did not fuck with that. As a matter of fact, ironically enough, most Jews still don't technically fuck with it in the sense that they just live in America. You know, they might like defend Israel every now and then, but ultimately, like, they're, you know, that's social conditioning and whatnot. But like, clearly, they're not abiding by the national project, because if they were, they would live in Israel, but they don't live in Israel. They live here because they're American. They're American Jews. You know, they're New York Jews. They're Florida Jews. They're American. That's why I don't even like the language of diaspora in general. Because like after a certain point, if you have your roots set here in the United States of America for so many goddamn generations, like you're fucking American, you know? What do you mean? Israel defenders and Zionists love using that language to be like, these are diaspora Jews, like as though they're just like separated from their fucking homeland of Israel. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. This dude has been living in America for longer than Israel has even fucking existed. Okay? The fuck do you mean? Like, what do you mean? There's motherfuckers who have their roots here for a lot longer than Israel existed. Zionism existed along the same time as a lot of other Jewish forms of self-governance. We had leftist Bundism at the same time. It was competing with a ton of other ideologies and was never inherently going to succeed. It did so because of external factors like Balfour. And then, of course, obviously supercharged after the Holocaust, too. Like, those are the two major factors that played a role. I think the Holocaust probably played the most consequential factor, because then there were plenty of Jews that were genuinely considered stateless and had withstood incredible violence at that point. So that's it. After that point, it was over.
Finds their view of anti-Zionism in a way that allows for Jews to exist in a state of Israel, but that grants Palestinians rights. But you're seeing that as anti-Semitic. You know, people don't feel like they have the space to have a different view without being tagged with something that, as we have already established, is pretty serious.
Well, let's look, in fairness, I can appreciate that for some people, this idea is an abstraction, right? Oh, anti-Zionism, it means such and such to me. I get that. But let me tell you what anti-Zionism doesn't mean to me.
Dude, you know what's funny? He literally goes, here's what Zionism means to me, which is basically like something completely devoid of like the actual tangible impact of Zionism, which is the extermination, or at least like bare minimum ethnic cleansing and ethnic displacement of Palestinians. Okay, a refusal for the recognition of Palestinian humanity, Palestinian sovereignty, okay, Palestinian self-determination. But instead, he turns around and goes, and this is what I believe when someone says they're anti-Zionist. It's like, okay, so you get to set the terms, I guess. Like, you get to set the terms on what Zionism is on your own, whatever, like in the most favorable ways possible. Which, by the way, if you want to understand what Zionism is, look at the genocide in Gaza, because that is what Zionism is. Liberal, ultra-nationalist, doesn't matter. Ultimately, it is a fascist exterminationist ideology. And it is unfolding in real time. Like, we're seeing the consequences of unrestrained Zionism in Gaza. Gaza is Zionism through and through. So the notion that like Jonathan Greenblatt tries to speak out against that to make it seem as though Zionism is something different is to basically deny these atrocities, which is in a very clever way, he is actually avoiding talking about those atrocities, because he can't do that. He can't talk about those atrocities and maintain this like progressive veneer as a quote unquote civil rights advocate.
But what it results in, it's a lunatic trying to burn down the governor's mansion with his family sleeping in it because of his quote position on Palestine. It is, again,
that's so funny that he makes it seem like that guy was like a designated anti-Zionist. Bro, that dude literally thought the governor had kidnapped his daughters. Okay? That was the most like schizo dude you could point to. He doesn't want to say Elias, what was his name? Rodriguez, because that is an anti-Zionist that actually engaged in an act of violence against two people that work for the Israeli state, that work for the Israeli embassy, that work for the Israeli government. Okay? That is an actual act of violence that is anti-Zionist. Okay? You could just say that. Plenty of people think that that is completely fucked up and completely unacceptable. But instead, he has to just like make insane inferences. He just can't help himself. He has to be like, yeah, that guy who was that guy who literally was experiencing a fucking mental health crisis in broad daylight, that told the cops that the governor of Pennsylvania was actually kidnapping his daughters. That guy was actually engaging in an act of anti-Zionist terrorism. Come on, dude.
Firebombing elderly people because you want to, quote, end all Zionists.
In talking to
Wait, notice, oh shit. He didn't bring up the one instance. That's interesting. I think part of the reason why these guys like shy away from talking about that is because they worry about copycats. I think that's what it is. Especially because like that did not get the same like widespread condemnation that they were expecting. To clarify, he was not a schizo dude in the colloquial sense. Oh yeah. Yeah, he was literally a diagnosed schizophrenic off his medication. Yes. I'm not like saying, oh, that dude was schizo. Like, he was literally diagnosed medically as someone who was schizophrenic, who was very clearly experiencing an episode of paranoid schizophrenia. He was hallucinating that the governor had kidnapped his daughters.
to people who are self-described anti-Zionists, starting with the idea that that is the way that they feel that everyone
Here you go, bro, with the schizophrenic shit. Wait, what? Dog, what are you talking about? What do you want me to do to in order not to come across as like even remotely ableist? You want me to just like lie and act like the dude was not someone who was off his medication? Yes. That person was medically diagnosed with schizophrenia and he was off his medication. That's what his immediate family said. And you can kind of make that inference regardless if you were to listen, like we did, to his 911 phone call.
rights in Israel and Palestine and Palestinian territories, to then extrapolate that they are somehow connected to murder, arson.
I am not connecting those people, Lulu.
No, but
That's kind of a slide.
He is. You are. What do you mean? You just did. What the fuck? Bro, that's crazy. He just did. And then she goes, why are you connecting this to like the overwhelmingly peaceful like pro-Palestinian demonstrations and whatnot? And he's like, oh, I'm not doing that. You are. That's your whole job.
starting with the idea that that is the way that they feel that everyone should have rights in Israel and Palestine and Palestinian territories, to then extrapolate that they are somehow connected to.
For the record, none of this is new. These tactics are not new, okay? If you are tapped in to right-wing reactionary sentiment, as I am. Hello? Wait, hold on a second.
Murder, arson.
I am not connecting those people, Lulu.
No, but
That's kind of a sleight of hand and not
no,
fair.
but I'm really not trying to do a sleight of hand. I'm just trying to understand. You say that anti-Zionism leads to, that is the inevitable sort of end to this kind of belief.
So he's being disingenuous here, but I need you to understand something, okay? As someone who engages with fascist dialogue with regular frequency, okay? As someone who has to deal with right-wing reactionary, racist, white nationalist, white supremacist dialogue and counter that kind of propaganda, I have heard what Jonathan Greenblatt is doing here a million times over. I'll give you very quick examples, okay? Black Lives Matter starts. White racist people say, oh, all lives matter. Why not? When people say Black Lives Matter, I feel like you're saying white lives don't matter. That's your problem, dog. You just made that shit up, okay, to undermine BLM. That's number one. The example in that, the analog here is when people who want to support Israel, when Zionists say, oh, when people say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, that means you want to genocide the Jews. No, that's not what that means. You just made that up because you want to undermine advocacy for Palestinian emancipation. Okay? What Jonathan Greenblatt is doing here, connecting anti-Zionism to like two dudes that were off the rocker, okay, engaging in acts of violence, is no different than when, once again, right-wingers like at Fox News and all these other institutions actively were saying, oh, well, you know, look at how violent BLM is. Look at how violent BLM is. Like, no, dude, the movement was about tackling police brutality and the disproportionate targeting of black communities. Okay, that's what it was about. That's always what it's been about. You can't just like point to extreme examples to be like, no, BLM means like sniping cops, as they tried to do over and over again. Okay, that's exactly what he's doing here, tying an entire peaceful movement, an entire progressive movement to extreme examples like this is identical to the way that racist white people on fucking Fox News and other organizations like on the right have actively tried to do against BLM. Oh, they burned down cities. They sniped cops. Like, that's what it is. That's exactly the same thing that he's doing right here. Okay? But he's doing that as a person who is responsible for a quote unquote civil rights advocacy organization.
And so I think what people would say who might hold those beliefs is that is a sort of exaggeration and sleight of hand, because they don't want the annihilation of Jews.
They might not want that.
Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, dude. Zionism is quite literally unfolding in Gaza. It is real genocide. Okay? That's it. That is the overwhelming majority of what Zionism has brought, which is the 80 plus years of occupation, but then even more significantly now, like the full-blown extermination campaign that's taking place in Gaza. But God forbid you marry these two concepts. You can't do that. That's anti-Semitic. Anti-Zionism, on the other hand, is not a movement that says, hey, please stop this. The Palestinians are human beings. But instead, it's actually the ethnic cleansing of all Jews. On the one hand, in defense of Zionism, you're just like saying, please refuse to address the elephant in the fucking room, the real death and the real carnage and the real genocide that's taking place, while simultaneously turning around and like trying to tie this otherwise like anti-war, pro-peace movement, pro-humanity movement to extreme examples that do not represent the overwhelming majority. Like, how are we supposed to exist in this world where Israel's actions that are broadly supported, like routinely supported by virtually the entirety of the Jewish demographic of Israel, okay, that is somehow not representative of Israel at all. That's not representative of Zionism at all, even though it's like literally the most base understanding of Zionism. But anti-Zionism, on the other hand, is supposed to be this hypothetical advocacy of the extermination of all Jews. Do not look at what Israel's doing in Gaza. That's not representative. Please look to what I'm saying is what anti-Zionism actually is. Get the fuck out of here. It doesn't work. It does not work at all. This is ridiculous.
They might not understand what it means. They might not be steeped in the context. They might not be familiar with all of the history. But all I know is...
No, they're not familiar with your version of the history, the one that is ahistorical. The notion that this is a land without people for a people without land. There were people there. And the early Zionists knew that very well. And they knew what must be done with those people to implement this project. Bullshit.
What I see every day. All I know is the thousands and thousands of people who contact us because they have been, as I've described already, targeted and victimized, not because of what they believe, but because of who they are. And again, when you normalize language like, from the river to the sea, when you normalize language like globalize the Intifada, when you normalize language like, again, Israel is a Nazi state, this create the conditions in which people feel not just compelled, but almost obligated, Lulu, to do horrible things. So I think ideas have consequences, and it starts with words. And what I am saying to you is, again, Zionism is one thing. The opposite of that is not some, well, look, let's have an ideal one state where everyone.
Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that. Why can't we do that, Jonathan? Why? Just say it. Say it with your chest, because Palestinians are fucking dogs, right? They're just like violent dogs, right? Yeah, they just can't coexist with Jews, right? That's what you want to say. Just say it. Just fucking say it, dude. Why are you so afraid to say it? I'm sure you say it behind closed doors. You're basically implying it every single time. Is he defending Israel being a Nazi state? Yes, of course. Israel is a Nazi state. If you defend Israel, you are defending a Nazi state. And it's not just like a theoretical Nazi state. It's a Nazi state that's currently doing a live streamed Holocaust. So this is like knowing exactly what the Nazis were doing during the Holocaust and defending it actively. Okay. This is no different than Himmler, Goebbels, Hitler. It's the same shit. Those motherfuckers knew exactly what was going on in the concentration camps, and they were actively tasked with defending it.
I'm not talking about that. I'm focused here in America on the felt experience of Jewish people.
I'm sure.
Yeah. It's shameless and also insanely, intensely anti-Semitic. Ironically enough, okay? It is intensely anti-Semitic to put the feelings of American Jews that you, by the way, have made up, okay? It doesn't even like correspond to reality. Jews are not monolithic, obviously. No group is. But you're basically saying like, I am the top Jew and all of the Jews in America are feeling really worried about the ways in which people are recognizing Israel's Nazi behavior. Okay? That's fucking crazy. You're literally associating all Jews in America with Israel's Nazi project. That is unimaginably anti-Semitic.
You saw my colleague Ezra Klein's recent piece on divisions within the Jewish community, because this is not just an active debate outside of the Jewish community. These definitely,
yeah, exactly. And it's also irrelevant. That's the other thing. It is so irrelevant. Like, not only is it anti-Semitic because you're basically fucking saying like, no, all Jews care about Israel doing a genocide, and like they get really scared when people say Israel's doing a genocide. Please don't, please don't let people say Israel's doing a genocide, even though it is, because you'll hurt the feelings of Jews. Not only is it untrue, but even if it was true, it still would be irrelevant. You know what I mean? Even if Jews were a monolithic force, and they're not, but even if they were, and they were all like fucking predisposed with like Israel doing a genocide, it still would be utterly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Do you fucking think that genocide is appropriate or not is the actual question here. Okay? That's it.
And how they're interpreted are also very vigorously debated within the Jewish community.
Absolutely.
And in that piece, he argues that the war in Gaza and Israel's actions over the past year there have broken the consensus around the central place Israel has for American Jews. And there was this one line in the piece that really struck me about how we think about the idea of self-determination. And he writes, and I'm quoting here, "The question is not whether Israel has the right to exist, it is whether Israel has the right to dominate." Israel does exist, right? But the question is, does Israel have the right to dominate, which is what has caused so much consternation about how Israel exercises its right to exist.
Yeah. This is a surprisingly good interview. This is from 2023, December 7th. Barry Weiss targeting Rafat for how his tweet on fake baked babies made her feel versus Rafat actually being killed is the perfect encapsulation of this whole feelings debate in the West when an actual genocide is being committed. This was on December 7th, 2023. Okay? I made something up to justify Israel's mass slaughter of Palestinians. A Palestinian that is watching his family get mass slaughtered made a joke about it. That made me feel bad. That made me feel small. That made me feel stupid. So I demanded that Israel take vengeance in my name, and Israel did. Israel killed Rafat and his entire family shortly after Barry Weiss put a target on his back. That is the real dynamic here, okay? That is the reason why when I speak to Palestinians in Gaza, for example, I have to weigh this. I have to weigh this, the fear that, like, I have to communicate with them off camera before I have them on to see, like, are you sure? Like, this is putting a target on your back technically. You know what I mean? That's not a consideration that anyone should ever have to fucking weigh on. This is a real situation. Because any Palestinian in the Gaza Strip could be subject to murder from an unaccountable, violent Nazi state at any given moment for any reason. And no one in the Western world gives a fuck. That is the reality. It's so insane. Okay? It's so incredibly insane that is what's going on. And yet we still talk about, like, what Jonathan Greenblatt has decided is the feeling of Jews overall. You know, we have to place that. We have to weigh that. Here is anti-racist ADL-CO laments rising intermarriage rates among Jews.
Is it your sense that Jewish people are getting complacent, that they're not engaging to degrees and levels we should be?
I have met a lot of October 8th Jews for whom the massacre on October 7th was a wake-up call. I've met a lot of people who feel much more galvanized, much more organized. But that will only be sustained if we offer them, ways to participate in a real and robust way in Jewish life.
Mm-hmm. And whose responsibility is that? In essence?
All of ours.
Yeah.
But this is why we need a revolution in our community on so many levels. So look, the reality is that intermarriage rates continue to go up. Assimilation continues apace.
This Nazi shit. What do you mean? It's just like, bro, this is what fucking white supremacists say, man. This is shit that white supremacists say, okay? How ironic that after a fucking century of Jews are doing the great replacement to taint the pure white race, now you got a Jewish dude literally saying that about Jews. What he's describing here is quite literally what neo-Nazis say about race mixing, about miscegenation. That is literally what he is saying. Why is that appropriate? The real issue here is that many young American Jews hear that and they go, what the fuck? I don't give a shit. I'm going to marry whoever the fuck I want. What are you talking about? That's what he's worried about. That's what many Zionists are worried about. It's crazy to me. It is crazy.
Look, I fight anti-Semitism. That is my job.
Right.
But I worry a great deal about broader questions of Jewish identity, as I think we talked about over lunch.
Is it your sense that...
This is from August 8th, from yesterday. I'm going to say he said the 14 words but Jewish, and he can still masquerade as a civil rights organization leader.
Jewish people are getting complacent, that they're not...
This is why, like, there is a sense of, like, honest jealousy in the framing of other prominent fascists like Richard Spencer or even Tucker Carlson or that Visegrad guy when he literally talked to Jonathan Greenblatt being like, why can't white people do Israel shit that Israel's doing for the Jews? Like when those guys are saying like, oh, what the fuck? Like you're the leader of the ADL, which plays a formative role in like tackling our white version of what Israel is doing. You won't let me do it. And I suspect the ADL is going to move in that direction now. They've already fired all of the people that were tasked with like the real civil rights advocacy. They've already fucking fired those guys, even though they have more support, more financial support than ever before post October 7. They fired every single person that was tasked with like combating racism and all these other forms of civil rights advocacy. 40 and wearing a chain. Yikes. Wait, what? If you're reading this, you're gay. Is this guy talking about? Oh, he is talking about me. Did you see Jeff Nippert speak with the Palestinian bodybuilder? Yes, I did. I did, bruh, Nathan. I don't know. I didn't know there was an age limit to this sort of thing.
Language, like from the river to the sea. When you normalize language, like globalize the Intifada, when you normalize language, like, again,
gotta
Israel is a
pee.
Nazi state.
It
Just
is.
create the conditions in which people feel not just compelled, but almost obligated, Lulu, to do horrible things.
I'm Lulu Garcia Navarro, and this is The Interview. I covered the Middle East for a long time as a foreign correspondent, and I can safely say that this moment is a moment like no other in my memory. Here in the US, anti-Semitism and how it relates to criticism of Israel has become central to debates around free speech, immigration,
No one has a right to a student visa.
national security, and fundamentally what it means to feel safe and welcome in this country. One of the central figures in this debate is Jonathan Greenblatt, the head of the Anti-Defamation League, or ADL. Founded more than 100 years ago, the ADL's stated mission is to, quote, stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all. Under Greenblatt's decade-long tenure, the ADL has tracked a precipitous rise in anti-Semitic incidents across the country, which is why I wanted to talk to Jonathan Greenblatt about how he sees this moment. Thank you so much for joining the interview. I'm so glad you're here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Lulu.
I want to start with a big question that I know you think about a lot, which is, what is the situation, in your estimation, for Jews in America right now?
I think this is a time of great concern for Jews all over the United States. You know, at ADL, we track anti-Semitism, we measure attitudes, and we also track incidents. And we've never really seen a time like this, at least not in recent memory. So on the one hand, elevated or intense anti-Semitic attitudes as a percent of the population have more than doubled in the last 5 years. And we also track incidents. What I can tell you is last year, 2024, was the worst year we had ever recorded in terms of acts of harassment, vandalism, and violence directed at Jewish people or Jewish institutions. That was the 5th time in the last 6 years that we've broken a new record. And if I look back over the 10 years since I became ADL CEO, the number's up 10x where it was when I started on the job.
That's why I wanted to have you here today, because you...
Yeah. I wonder if she'll ask directly in this interview about the ADL's metrics for anti-Semitism that changed after October 7th. There was already a swing in the direction of like having this holistic approach to anti-Zionism as anti-Semitism, but it accelerated dramatically after October 7, where like more than half of the anti-Semitic incidents were literally just like anti-Zionist demonstrations happening. Okay? Which, by the way, was absolutely elevated by the Biden administration and is part of the reason why the Donald Trump admin now can so easily act as though they are trying to tackle this fucking issue, this fake problem. Right-wingers love creating hysteria around a fake problem and then having to enforce some kind of regulatory and often violent way of intervening in solving this fake problem. Crime panic and crime hysteria surrounding migrants is a great example of this, is a great analog of this. Demonizing Israeli Jews. Okay, so of course the ADL counts tons of anti-Zionist activity as anti-Semitism. Putting that aside, he admits he's bad at his job. This was the 5th time in the last 6 years that we've broken a new record. He said that just now. Okay. Demonizing Israeli Jews, of whom 79% are unconcerned with the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, is anti-Semitism. The second screenshot is from Haaretz. When it crosses the line, is not a criticism of Israeli policy per se, as he just said, but for example, the demonization of Israeli people. Okay. A vast majority of Israeli Jews, 79%, say they are not so troubled or not troubled at all by reports of famine and suffering among the Palestinian population in Gaza, according to a poll released yesterday. Let me explain something to you, okay? You know what this is? We're all progressives in this space. We've all encountered a moment, either directly or we've seen it happen in out in the real world, where people do something racist, and then you call it out as racist, and then everybody gets mad at you for calling it out. Okay? That's literally what this is. It's like, oh, dude, what the fuck? You saying I'm racist is the real bullshit behavior. No, motherfucker, it's you thinking, it's you and your ass thinking that like the genocide in Gaza is appropriate. That is the real problem here. Okay? That's the real problem. Yeah, friendly reminder that anti-Zionism existed before there was a state of Israel to eliminate Anti-Zionism is a belief that Jews do not have the right. It is an ideology which is committed to saying, we will do what we can to prevent Jewish self-determination in their homeland. Anti-Zionism is an ideology of nihilism, Lulu, which would literally seek to not just delegitimize, but eliminate the Jewish state. It's very problematic. I think the challenge is if someone defines their view of anti-Zionism in a way that allows for Jews to exist in the state of Israel but grants Palestinians rights, but you're seeing that as anti-Semitic people don't feel like they have the space to have a different view without being tagged with something that's pretty serious. And of course, Jonathan responds with, I can appreciate that for some people. This idea is an abstraction. Oh, anti-Zionism, it means such and such to me. I get that. But let me tell you what anti-Zionism doesn't mean to me, but what it results in. It's a lunatic trying to burn down. We already saw that part. He's like, Zionism means to me something that, you shouldn't actually fucking directly attribute to the current ongoing genocide that Israel is doing, even though that is literally Zionism unfolding. But anti-Zionism, on the other hand, is also what I get to say it is, which is the most extreme hypotheticals, okay? Or some of the most extreme examples. Other than Israel, give us an example where calling out racism is labeled as problematic. What do you mean? Among right-wingers, hello? What? Are you fucking dumb? Every right-winger, have you never been around like a Republican, dude? That's precisely my point. Israel is a fucking right-wing institution. It is a reactionary concept in and of itself. That's why it's identical to like a racist white Christian nationalist or whatever being like, oh, you're calling out this is racist. That's the real problem to me. That's it. That's it. They're doing the same exact shit. In which he shares the outrageous conspiracy theory that Students for Justice in Palestine knew about October 7 attack before it happened. That's also another crazy thing. This guy is literally off his fucking rocker. We didn't know exactly what had happened, who had perpetrated it, and yet SJP on the 8th already had their narrative pretty well developed. On CNN, Khalil publicly said anti-Semitism of any form or any form of racism has no place on campus and in this movement. And when asked, he wouldn't condemn Hamas at the same time in that same interview. Okay? He's like, still has smoke for Mahmoud Khalil. And of course, we already watched that interview on CNN where he was like saying, this is offering, because it's not about my political view about Hamas. They only want to hear yes or no. That's it. It's not about what I think about it. And this is being used to credit or discredit Palestinians. If I condemn Hamas, then I'm a Palestinian worthy of listening to. If I don't, then I'm not. And this is what Palestinians get angry with, this line of questioning. Because as I said, Palestinians are the ones that are now being starved and genocided. Because even if Hamas does not exist tomorrow, the Israeli occupation and supremacy would continue against the Palestinians. So it's not about Hamas, which is true. Like, Hamas is irrelevant. Okay? If the conversation is supposed to be about Israel's genocide, then any kind of fucking violent resistance or any kind of violent militancy against said genocide is utterly irrelevant and inconsequential in this conversation. It's ridiculous. It's like saying, do you condemn the Jewish partisans during the Holocaust? Do you condemn any kind of resistance movement during the Holocaust? It's fucking a ridiculous question to ask. And yet it is so normalized in our modern day discourse that it is the only question. It's the only game in town that you have to answer before you can ever make any fucking statements. I've said this over and over again. You don't have to fucking love Hamas. It doesn't matter. You don't have to love Hamas to hate Israel. You hate Israel because Israel is doing a genocide. You hate Israel because Israel is built on the notion of Jewish supremacy and ethnic cleansing of non-Jews in the region. That's it. It's actually crazy to still have smoke for Khalil after he was jailed for months for having an opinion and being a peace activist, whichever side he shouldn't even matter. This is Nazi shit, and Jonathan is supporting the Nazi shit. Disgusting. Yeah, 100%. It's just like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous question, okay? The only people who I always say have to fucking wear the Hamas banner are people who have actively defended this genocide until recently and only made a change of attitude now. Those people have to. Those people have to ride for Hamas to make up for the fucking initial genocide defense that they engaged in. If they want, if they actually want to be welcome, they have to be fucking wearing the specific Al-Aqsa flood banner too. Like, not even just like the Al-Qassam brigades. Sorry, I don't make the rules. You know, you have to make up for what you did, which is once again far worse than October 7, like 1,000,000 times worse than October 7, and yet it's in broader mainstream discourse, even among people who are like anti-Israel or pro-Palestinian, like they don't even fucking see that. They don't see it as such. Like, to me, I made this point a year ago where it's like someone wearing an IDF shirt is far worse than someone fucking wearing a Hamas headband, bro. Like, what are we talking about? The IDF is a far more violent force Like even before October 7, the IDF was a far more violent force than Hamas. Always. Like, what are we talking about? Even the maintenance of the illegal occupation in the West Bank alone is so much worse and so much more violence and so normalized in comparison to October 7. It's not even a fucking question. If you see Palestinians as human beings, it's not even a fucking question. You don't have to love Hamas or anything, okay? But you have to be fucking real about it. One of the things that actually pisses off a lot of people is when I openly say this. Like whenever I tweet like, Israel is a far worse, and the IDF is a far worse force that has done far more violence than Hamas ever could, a far more evil entity, an organization than Hamas ever could be. People get so mad. They yell at me. They call me a terrorist. But you know what they can't call me? A fucking liar, because it is the truth. Yeah. This is Gaza in 1994 when Israel soldiers were wandering the streets of Gaza, assaulting and bullying men, women, and children. No accountability ever. Israel had been occupying Gaza for 27 years by the time of this footage. Hamas was barely 7 years old. Its fighters probably had no more than a few dozen guns between them. You know? That's it. That's it. So all of the... a conversation about Hamas amongst the Palestinian population is a necessary one, right? For sure. Like... whether they want to be governed by Hamas or not, that's up to them. But that's not a conversation that is worth having in the Western world, especially when Israel's the one doing the fucking genocide. Like, it's a irrelevant and deliberately unproductive conversation to consistently go back to, because people don't want to speak about the actual things that are taking place right now, the actual violence, the actual atrocity, the actual genocide that's taking place. So they just go, but Hamas, but Hamas, but Hamas. The constant fucking vilification of any sort of Palestinian resistance is a necessity. You have to talk about that, because every moment that you spend talking about that, you're not talking about what Israel's doing, okay? You're not talking about the real problem here. That's it. And Israel defenders know this. That's why the terrorism designation is so important, okay? The but Hamas conversations are so important. That's why you can use that and consistently obfuscate all of Israel's violence. You can consistently shelter Israel's genocide by offering it some semblance of permission to be like, well, Hamas is there. You know, they know that. That's why they use it all the time. That's why Jonathan Greenblatt is using it here. You know? One concern that I've heard referring to the State Department officials say about the actions of this administration is that this government might be using anti-Semitism selectively to screen people with whom it might be ideologically opposed. Well, obviously, that would be a problem. Would it be a problem, Jonathan? I don't think anti-Semitism should be used as political football by elected officials from either side. And so to the extent that the Trump administration or any other admin would use it as a pretext to go after people who they don't like or with whom they don't agree with on a broader set of issues, clearly I wouldn't agree with that, except you do agree with that. I mean, I've been fucking targeted with this. You know what I mean? It's fucking so stupid. Having heard the word genocide is viewed when used against the Israeli state as basically an attack on Israel's existence itself, I just wonder if you view it that way or if you don't. Well, again, I don't begrudge David. I do think what's happening in Gaza is terrible, catastrophic situation. I don't think it's a genocide because that's a legal definition, which means an intentional effort. I don't have... Come in. Why? Oh, they did. Fuck. Hold on. I don't know. All right. March is here. He's going to set up while I continue talking about this. And then we should probably pack this stuff up. But I don't know. Should we bring it everywhere we go today? And then bring it back here and then come back here and then go to the airport? Yeah, okay. We'll do that. Yeah. Oh, shit. We got like similar pants on. What are those pants? What? Their song for the mute? Fuck. Those are fire. I'm going to get those pants. You fucked up.
You want me to? Why can't?
No. I'm saying set the IRL. No. Set the IRL backpack up.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yeah. And then we'll do the other thing. Having heard the word genocide is viewed when against the Israeli state is basically an attack on Israel. Yeah, he says, oh, I can't speak on a genocide. I have it here. It's a UN legal... oh, shit. She pulled it out? Wait, hold up. I got to find this moment. Do we know exactly at what point she brings that up? I need to see this on video because this is a transcription of the interview. God damn, you can't pull up the transcript for some reason. I don't know why.
Jews being
Erupts extremist threats.
Transcript is in the description.
I don't want to belabor the point. I just think it's slightly different.
Oh.
what you're talking about, what actually happened on campuses, and the accusation of material support for terrorism. Those are
that they've
slightly
handed
two
out-
different things.
So look, on March 5th, at the takeover of the Barnard Library right here in New York City, Quad, which is the SJP, they banned the SJP chapter at Columbia for its behavior, and the students immediately reconstituted it as Quad. That's what they call it. And those students literally, because that's a legal definition, which means an intentional effort. And I don't have the dictionary in front of me.
I have it here.
But
It
an
says,
intentional. Okay, what does it
I
say?
mean, it's a UN, right? We should say it's a legal definition. And it says any of the following acts committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group, such as killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or part, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group.
Bro, that's literally like Israel looked at that and was like, bet. Okay. Israel was like, oh, I didn't. Were you reading out the checklist of what we were supposed to do? Because it kind of seems like it's perfectly valid when we do it bar for bar, verbatim. What we're doing is kind of crazy that you, but Hamas. Like, what's the fucking reasonable, supposedly progressive defense of this? You got nothing. You just have but Hamas. That's all you got. All you can do is condom hummus, October 7, condom hummus. That's all you got. You got nothing else.
So in fairness, I don't have that definition.
What? Oh, I was going to, okay. Oh, no, you do that after, because you're going to have to leave and come back anyway.
In front of me, right? And I haven't read it like you have before this. But what I'll simply say is that I don't believe the Israeli government is committing genocide. I don't think they're intentionally trying to destroy or annihilate a group of people. I do think this is a war that was started by Hamas. I do think Hamas has made the decision to black market and hoard the aid that comes in. The Hamas government has chosen to build tunnels below, not to create protective structures above.
But Hamas,
so we could ask ourselves,
just as I thought, but Hamas, how fucking convenient, dude. Didn't realize that you got that ace under your sleeve, you know? Had no idea you were gonna hit the but Hamas trap card. Shocking. It's interesting, because that's like it seems like that's the only fucking line of supposed defense that these guys have. Interesting.
questions about who is really bringing the catastrophe to the Gazan people. But look, at the end of the
How is there any daylight between you and Benjamin Netanyahu? This is what it is. When Zionism is at its final project stage, okay, the final solution for the Palestinians, there is very little daylight between the liberal Zionists and the ultra Zionists, okay? Because ultimately, they are tasked with defending Israel. And if Israel is doing a genocide, you have one of two options. You either look at that and go, all my life, I've been deluded into thinking that this was actually something that was good. This was a project for good. This was Jewish self-determination. I was wrong. This is what it was always about. And I find this to be utterly unconscionable as a Jew, especially given the historic significance of genocide towards Jewish people in Jewish history. I'm out. You either do that, and many Jews have done that, and many more Jews are doing that every day, or you find yourself in this position where you're basically the same as Benjamin Netanyahu, the same as Itamar Ben-Gvir. That's it. That's it. You're either propping up the Israeli state, which is a Nazi state, and this is your job now. This is what you're tasked with doing. Okay? Or you have to become an anti-Zionist. It's that simple. Because genocide, unlike many other historic atrocities, unlike many other convoluted political events, genocide is as black and white as it's going to get. Genocide and chattel slavery are the two instances where, like, even historians will roundly say, this is black and white. It's the crime of all crimes. There's no fence sitting on this. There's no, like, liberal Zionist permission structure on this. I'm sorry if that offends your sensibilities. I'm sorry if you want to feel as though you want to continue defending the state of Israel and its nationalist Nazi project, its Holocaust, while being in the polite comforts of liberal society. But welcome to the other side. For decades, the pro-Palestinian position was roundly condemned and criticized, pushed aside. There was a massive momentum for progressive except for Palestine in almost all progressive circles. Okay? So this notion now where you try to fucking you try to act as though you have anything to say, any defense of this position, while still maintaining some kind of like liberal veneer is gone. Okay? It's done. It's over. It's Jover.
Dave, for me, it's not about how we define these things. Again, we talked about this last time. Anti-Zionism is an interpretation. It's a fact. And the pain and hunger and tragedy in Gaza is a fact. And the deaths of civilians are a fact. And the status of the hostages is a fact. So the facts compel me to say, without any hesitation, this war needs to end. The hostages need to come home. The aid needs to flow in. And we need people on both sides to be able to live in some degree, some modicum of peace. That's what I want.
The reason I bring up the use of the word genocide, and we should also say that, Ehud Olmert, the former prime minister of Israel, is now calling Israel's actions war crimes, right? So again, use of these words.
Yeah, permission structure is expanding. You couldn't do that a year ago, okay? You can even fucking say ceasefire. People thought ceasefire was unconscionable, a bridge too far, anti-Semitic. Now, you got former Likud prime ministers saying it's a litany of war crimes. A couple months from now, maybe they'll arrive finally at the fucking position that Israel is committing a genocide. Who knows? But like, the point here is to bring as many people on board as quickly as possible and to create more and more pressure, as Rashida Tlaib talked about yesterday. It gave me a lot of confidence, and it made me happy to see that American politicians who have tremendous power in being able to stop Israel's genocide are actually responsive or actually do have their feelings hurt by people showing up at their events. Their constituents showing up and being like, what the fuck are you doing? You need to be way more aggressive. What people are doing to Bernie Sanders, they should be doing a million times over to every single fucking Democrat and every single Republican. Hamas has been terrorizing Israel for generations and you support them. You fucking moron. Hamas hasn't even been around for generations. This is the problem. You don't know anything. You want to fucking defend Israel, and a big chunk of that requires you to not know the fucking history. It's that simple. That's it. What is this? Oh, new card? Okay, thanks. Yeah, you can take it. Hold on. Let me turn on the laptop cam real quick. All right, you can take it now. Yeah, Mo Salah said how there's a famous Palestinian football player who was assassinated by the state of Israel at the point of aid distribution when he was trying to secure Suleiman al-Obeid, known as the Palestinian Pele. This happened a couple days ago. Now he was killed. He was killed while he was trying to get aid, like humanitarian aid, like food for children. Okay, he was shot and killed in that process. He's a very famous Palestinian athlete. Okay, and this obviously is a horrifying event, but it's one that has unfortunately happened far too many times at this point. FIFA, which still allows Israeli teams to play, which still has no issues with Israel whatsoever, posted this recognition of Suleiman al-Obeid as though he had just passed away, as though he had just simply, died in his sleep or something. It's disgusting. We should do a shotgun, by the way. Yeah, because there's just gonna be a bunch of people around. So Mo Salah, who was one of the most famous players on the planet, he's Muslim, he plays for Liverpool, he's Egyptian, came out and said, can you tell us how he died, where, and why? Because everybody at this point knows that Israel killed him. Israel murdered him, just like Israel has murdered countless others. That's the reason why UEFA tweeted this like wishy-washy bullshit. Yeah, because UEFA still allows Israel to play in Euro competitions. They made it seem like he was retiring or something from football. Or maybe he died in his sleep. He didn't. He was starved. He was starved like every other Palestinian in the Gaza Strip, and then shot and killed in a horrific crime. Yeah, exactly. Russian teams are banned, and yet Israel continues. Israel continues to sports wash. Israel continues to participate as though it's a normal country in the global stage. It is not. It is directly at odds with how we understand history, and yet Israel still persists. This is why I say this issue, Israel's genocide, and the Western world's contribution to Israel's genocide is going to inevitably rip apart Western society as we know it. Because it is such a glaringly obvious wrong that any support for it and any continuation of it is making people realize that their cries for help go nowhere. You ready whenever? All right. We got to move quick because we're already fucking... Yeah, it's maxing out the contradictions that people can see in real time. Hold on. Why some people say you support Hamas? It's because I support Palestinian emancipation. And people can't say you support the humanity of Palestinians and you operate under the assumption and recognition that Palestinians are human beings with lives worthy of dignity. And of course, in that process, they are going to, after 80 years of apartheid and occupation, resist militarily against the entity that is doing that. It's much easier for people to just go, you love Hamas, you want to hug and kiss Hamas. It's a thought-terminating cliche. Palestinians have a right to resist. Palestinians have a right to exist. Israel is not allowing that to happen. Okay? It's that simple. Is this going to be another short stream? What do you mean? IRL streams are oftentimes a little bit shorter, but here, I'm going to swap it and we'll move. We'll mobilize. Wait, do you have the address? Why do you know every term and every topic? What do you mean? This is my job. It's my job to know. No. Okay. It's because I'm a political scientist, chatter. Good question. It's because I'm a political scientist. I'm an engineer. I'm a political engineer with a degree in political science. All right. It's going to be here in a minute. Let's go. Boom. Yeah. No, I flipped it. Yo, there's still people saying happy partner anniversary. That's crazy. That's crazy. I'm putting up DND Omega Law. Okay, calm down. It's Malert, not Malort. How do you like it when people say donor instead of donat? I don't care when people do that. And also, I mean, I've never heard a Chicago person call it Malert. Malert. What is it? What is it? Some fucking Scandinavian shit, probably. I assume, right? You didn't go to the DSA today? No. We did. We briefly stopped by. If you didn't go under the bean, you didn't do the bean, brother. Dude. I licked it. Okay? Me and the bean are fucking acquainted, which means it's over. I kissed it, dude. Fucking kissed that shit. All right, boom, perfect. Yeah. All right. This is the Fab Top house? No, it's not the Fab Top. I'm telling you, the Malort is worse than the fucking bean, bro. What if I get mad sick? You know you have 30 minutes, law. What, for what? To check out? Is that what you think? 2 chicks watched you lick with disgust. The creator of Malört was a Swedish immigrant. I tweeted about it. What the fuck is this? Bro, y'all are fucking crazy. What is this, bro? What the hell is this? Y'all are nasty for this. Did you find Kat Abu? No, I didn't, unfortunately, because she was like way up north from where we were at, and they just kept traveling further and further up north. So we weren't able to. The Superman. Bro, is that Godzilla's dick and balls? That's gross. Did you go to the free zoo? No. Oh, dancing? Yeah, no, we're not doing that. It's because I got a BBL, chat. That's what happened. Get rid of the brass knuckles before the airport. It's not brass. It's literally fucking, it's plastic. So I'm going to bring it with me and see if I can bring it on the plane. I think it should be fine. I don't know if there's going to be any issues with that because like I said, it's plastic. It's nothing. Yeah, here it is. Oh my God, they caught me. Look at this. Those two girls. Look at their faces, dude. That man, just shame. Experiencing levels of shame never before seen. And then these two girls. That's crazy. You've hit a great... No. Okay, thank you. You've hit a great run of interesting... Bro, this is how you look like with those pants on? Hell yeah. Hot, you mean? Thank you. I agree. Please do the loop next time. Please. She's spitting? What is this? Oh, she's spitting. Look.
I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, it's weird. I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. It's not, can you wash your hands when you get back from the outside things? Oh my God, your name is Grandma Take Me Home. You're literally grandma. That's like some grandmother ass advice. I mean, it's not bad advice. I'm going to do that. Malort is wormweed. Absinthe is brewing with it too. It's supposed to be bitter. It's just disgusting. I don't know why people do that. I don't know why people do that to themselves, let alone to another person. Anyway. All right, let's get to world leaders condemn Israel for the most like obvious fucking crimes against humanity. I'm going to go wash my hands and pee real quick.
Now, international opposition continues to grow over Israel's decision to take over Gaza City, with the UN Security Council set to hold an emergency meeting on Sunday. The Secretary-General called the military escalation dangerous, saying that it risks many lives, including those of the remaining Israeli hostages. The foreign ministers of Britain, Italy, Germany, Australia and New Zealand issued a joint statement strongly rejecting Mr. Netanyahu's plan to expand the war in Gaza. They said it will aggravate the catastrophic humanitarian situation, endanger the lives of the hostages and further risk the mass displacement of civilians, adding any attempts at annexation or of settlement extension violate international law. Now, Israel has defended the decision to escalate its military expansion in Gaza, with the Defense Minister, Israel Katz, saying international partners who condemned Israel would not weaken their resolve to defeat Hamas. Now, currently, Israeli forces have control of around 75% of the territory. The new plan is to take over Gaza City, home to around 1 million Palestinians. Let me just show you the satellite picture, which shows the density of the area 2 years ago. This image, though, was taken recently, and it shows some parts completely destroyed in this war, while others remain largely intact. Now, Israel doesn't allow international journalists, including the BBC, into Gaza, so we have to rely on trusted freelancers within the territory. John Donaldson, then, has sent this report from Jerusalem.
Homeless and hungry, Gazans woke up to the news today that this war is far from over, as if they needed telling. More Israeli airstrikes, and in Gaza City, the threat of another ground invasion. What is the point of a ground invasion? Nafez Ajour argues. There's nothing left that you haven't wiped out. There's nothing left, and there's no food either. Many already living in tents. Under Benjamin Netanyahu's plan, up to 1 million people here will be ordered to flee for the umpteenth time.
Gaza City is not safe. The north is not safe. Where should we go? Do we throw ourselves into the sea?
For Gazans, the destruction and the suffering is endless. Just 50 miles away, but a world apart in Jerusalem, Israelis were stocking up for the weekend. Hundreds of thousands of troops will be needed to capture Gaza City, but the people we spoke to here said there was no choice.
What's the alternative? What should they do instead? Have we tried making deals? Yes. It's not doing anything. Has there still...
Dude, I love hearing the fucking organic Middle Eastern, like, Levant accent in real time. I love that. Like, what's the alternative? It's crazy. Hitler Youth is right, 100%. It's just, like, fucking insane. It's so ass, dude. They're on Birthright. See the lanyards. Oh, my God. Oh my God, bro, who the fuck does Birthright in the middle? Like Birthright in general is already like fucked up, but they were like, oh, now is the time to do it. You know what I mean? better late than never, I guess, like right at the fucking heat of the genocide. That's something that's going to live with you forever, you know? Native of East Palestine, Ohio.
Attacks, yes. Has there still been casualties on both sides? Yes. So it needs to be finished. That's it.
We need to finish now all the terror. If the name is Hamas, now we must.
Dude, that's so funny. Like this dude is a unk, bro. He looks identical to like half of the fucking Uber drivers we met today. Like, it's so crazy. You know he's Arab too. I mean Jewish, but Arab Jewish. That's not an unk, that's a Nazi. No, I'm just saying that like this is the insidious nature of fascist ideology. You know, you got unks, Arab unks, advocating for the wholesale slaughter of dudes that look exactly like him over an imaginary boundary that was fucking placed. Like, there ain't no way you'd know until he opened his mouth. You would never know.
Not need. We must now.
This decision by the Prime Minister is divisive. We found plenty of people here who back him, but polls show the majority of Israelis.
Arab is not a race. We do not claim these people. They are not Arab. Stop saying they're Arab. It's revolting, frankly. I mean, they literally are. What are you talking about? They're from fucking Arab countries. They just happen to be Jewish. And now they're advocating for the fucking ethnic slaughter of all Arabs, all Palestinians, but just Arabs as a whole, really.
Think the best way to get the remaining hostages home is ending the war and a ceasefire deal. So this decision is a gamble.
Again this weekend, there will be mass protests by hostage families and their supporters. Many argue that if their loved ones don't get out of Gaza alive, their Prime Minister will be partly to blame. John Donnison, BBC News, Jerusalem.
Okay, let's speak to Joel Onyeke, who is Head of Operations in Gaza for Save the Children. Joel, hello, welcome to the programme. First off, what's your reaction to...
Also, chatters need to calm down. That person is Arab. The person who's reacting is like me saying, is like a Latino person responding to me, being like, Nicolas Fuentes is not Latino, bro. He's not Hispanic. Call him something else. He's not one of us. That's basically it, okay? Everybody needs to understand. That's what that person is saying. And it's like, I mean, they are literally, they are, like that dude is 100% an Arab Jew, right? 100%. And without like hearing him speak, you would just not know.
The plan by Israel to take control of Gaza City. What are the implications for your team on the ground?
Well, we know what military expansion and military occupation means for Palestinian children. We have seen military expansions in Gaza over the past 2 years, as well as military occupation, and we know the harm, that children face as a consequence of that. I think what we currently need in Gaza is a definitive ceasefire in place. Children in Gaza have been paying, the highest price for this unrelenting war that they have played no part in. Many children have been killed by bombs and bullets, and at a very unprecedented rate. And children have lost their homes, loved ones, and the safety of which they have a right to. They are dying of hunger and diseases, and the same applies to even my colleagues on the ground here. I think what we actually need more than ever is a definitive ceasefire in Gaza.
You say that children are paying the highest price. Just remind us why it is children, this segment of the population, of which we're seeing some of the worst fatalities. What is it about the population in Gaza?
Yeah, children are particularly vulnerable to the effects of explosive weapons. Their bodies are oftentimes thrown harder and further away by the blast. Their bones,
That's such a crazy... I get what he's saying, but it's like a crazy statement to even hear,
Bend more. This also increases the chance of long-term disabilities for children. They have, less blood to give or to lose, and they are very unlikely to see medical or special care given the decimated health systems within Gaza currently. So speaking from that perspective is why I flag children, and working for an organization that is centered around children. We hear the cries of these children. We see the mental, impact of the war on them. We see the level of malnutrition. We see the level of hunger on the ground, and children, once again, are the most impacted.
I don't know if you caught the report that we played just before I came to speak to you, Joel, and there was a lady there saying, where should we go? Should we throw ourselves in the sea? Where are people going? It's a shame. I think we've lost Joel there for a moment. We will, if we can, go back to him, but we seem to have lost that connection. In the meantime, we're going to stay within the region and speak to our correspondent in Jerusalem, Amir Nada, who joins us now. Amir, I was just referring there to John Donaldson's report, and he'd mentioned how divisive this particular part of the war and the plan by Mr. Netanyahu has been in the country. Just expand that for us, if you could.
Well, in the run-up to the decision, we saw this rare outburst of serving and indeed former security officials, military chiefs, calling on Prime Minister Netanyahu not to make this decision to go into the Gaza city, to conquer it, to force out 1 million Palestinians. We saw them mostly articulate that in the form of the danger that it could pose to hostages. We saw over 500 former security chiefs talk about the damage that it could also cause to Israel's reputation internationally. Opposition leaders have said the same thing, talking about the possibility that Israeli hostages are being held around Gaza.
There's a poll that was conducted by RMG August 5th, 2025. If Netanyahu visits the U.S., should the U.S. arrest him? 46% said yes, 32% said no, 22% unsure. We got a lot of work to do, folks. That 22% needs to be, that 22% needs to go up to the yes bracket ASAP.
Believe that's the case. Their lives could be in danger. We know that Hamas previously has said that should Israeli troops come near to places that Israeli captives are being held, that their captors have been given orders to execute them. Hostage families are, of course, extremely distressed, saying that this plan is essentially a death sentence for their families, for their relatives who remain captive in the Gaza Strip. Then the announcement came yesterday morning, and we saw from the chief of staff of the Israeli military, who had, it was widely known, had been a vocal critic of the plan. We saw him publicly stating that there is now unity with the government. The Israeli military will carry out this plan. They presented this unified front, and we've seen the government really reassert and sort of double down on its language, hardening its language in the face of so much international and indeed domestic criticism. With the Minister of Defense yesterday evening.
Channel 12 said that they need 250,000 reservists to permanently militarily occupy the Gaza Strip. 250,000. They're so cooked. First of all, only 30% is habitable. Only 30% of the Strip is even habitable, okay? The rest of the Strip is completely destroyed. But even then, 250,000, like, they don't have that. They, I don't think, have the capabilities of maintaining interior security, an occupation in the West Bank, and an occupation in Gaza, especially with the militant resistance that already exists, the network of resistance that already exists in Gaza after a decade plus of infrastructure development of the sort. So if they can't do it, I guess it's anti-Semitic if we don't actually draft to send some American troops over there. You know what I mean? Some real anti-Semitic statements coming out of people who say, like, oh, we can't, I don't want to go and fucking serve in Israel. What the hell? For Israel's genocidal occupation. Unacceptable, you know?
Saying that all of this condemnation internally, externally, the threats of sanctions on Israel, none of this will weaken our resolve. So there isn't really any sense that this huge international pressure on Israel and on Prime Minister Netanyahu's government will do anything to shift their thinking over this very dramatic and severe plan that they've announced.
Okay. Amir Nada, thank you very much for that. Thank you.
The announcement also sparking a series of reactions from the international community. Germany saying that it will actually be suspending arm exports to Israel for use in Gaza, with calls growing from numerous European and Middle Eastern nations for Israel to simply scrap the plan altogether. For more on Germany's announcement, then, we're going to cross to our correspondent in Berlin, Nick Holdsworth. Hi, Nick. So, I mean, this marks a pretty significant reversal of German policy.
I'm confused. I thought Germany wasn't actually giving weapons to Israel. What happened? I guess they were, huh? How did Germany outflank AOC? I mean, AOC doesn't want offensive weapons going to Israel either, and Germany doesn't, I guess, provide defensive weapons. So they're suspending arms exports because it's all offensive weapons anyway. If that's what you, I mean, that's most likely the equation here, you know? But it doesn't matter. Germany fucking saying, which by the way, that's a distinction without a difference for me. Okay? I don't think that matters, right? But I will say the fact that even Germany, the biggest Israel dick riding nation out of all the nations with the exception of America, the fact that Germany is also hitting the, this is a bit much, I think. I mean, it's over. It's so done, dude. It's so over. What's happening? Why isn't this working? Oh, here it is. Okay. 80% of the population in Germany has been against Israel's action in Gaza for a year now. Our politicians are deaf. I know. Not only are the politicians deaf, they're not even deaf. They hear the calls, brother. They hear the calls. And their reaction to hearing the calls is literally to forcibly suppress those calls. You got to hear the calls first to be able to forcibly suppress them. You know what I mean? So make no mistake when people say, "Oh, they're deaf to our cries." Like, nah, they're not deaf. They hear it loud and clear. They just want you to shut the fuck up. How many images have we seen of like Nazi-ass German police just beating the fuck out of protesters and arresting them?
Towards Israel, how big of a deal is it? How much of an impact can it make at this stage in the war?
This will be a major psychological blow to Israel. Germany has been one of Israel's staunchest supporters over the past 80 years. I mean, basically going back to the foundation of the post-war state in 1949, supporting Israel's right to exist has been, as Friedrich Merz himself said back in June, just before the NATO meeting, a reason of state, a raison d'etat, he said. And the war guilt that has existed in Germany for many years over the Nazi genocide, the final solution they attempted to bring to the...
Interesting. So you don't have any issues calling the Holocaust a genocide. So I guess you just got to wait for the finality, you know? Because they just keep calling, well, Israel's doing a war. So it led me to assume that they just don't know the term genocide. But here he is using the term. Interesting. So they do know it. It's just they're not applying it.
Jewish people has driven German policy for years. Now it's quite apparent.
I'm watching today's VOD, and why are you so dismissive? I don't know why they were chirping last week when I was at plans. I had POC on my stream. Like, we literally used the Jam Boys president on your stream, the shield of criticism. Do you think that there's a certain point where you have to realize that, like, I'm friends with a lot of people and that this is perhaps, like, the most psychotic interpretation that you could have ever fucking imagined? Okay? And then you hit a buy at the end of it, too. There's got to be a point where you go, fuck, I actually was wrong. Like, I actually was being a fucking weirdo. But instead, you know what you chose to do? And then immediately there's dumb fucks. They go, they're kind of right, to be honest. Okay, you know what? I'm going to ban all of them. Okay, there it is. Fucking bozos. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Anyone else want it? Who else wants it? Who else wants it? Who else? Bro, you know you can't make everyone like you. Do your thing. No, I know. But if that's the type of shit if that's the type of time they're on, then why are you banning Hassan? Don't ask questions like that. Let's keep going.
Israel has stepped over a red line. There's been growing public dismay at what's been going on in Gaza, people seeing starving children, innocent civilians being shot or blown apart by bombs every day for months and months now. And finally, it looks like the German government has really taken a massive step in German terms and said, that's enough. We agree with Israel's aims to disarm Hamas. We agree that they should release the hostages. But as Friedrich Merz said, the German government believes that even tougher military action in the Gaza Strip decided upon by the Israeli cabinet last night makes it increasingly difficult to see how those goals can be achieved. And he added, under these circumstances, the German government will not approve any exports of military equipment.
The Jewish Voice for Peace is considered an extremist organization in Germany, is monitored by the secret police. See, this is the type of stuff that I don't understand. Because, like, on the one hand, they're doing this stuff where they're like, you know what? Okay, maybe the people have a point, right? Maybe we should, I don't know, scale back on the weapons that we're sending to Israel because they're doing genocide with them. But then also, on the other hand, they're still repressing as aggressively as possible any person that looks at the situation and calls it out for what it actually is. That's what really weirds me out about it. Like, on the one hand, Keir Starmer, also known as Kid Starver, is like, yeah, we're going to do Palestinian state recognition. On the other hand, they prescribed Palestine Action as a terrorist organization and literally arrested hundreds of people just the other day in England for the crime of protesting against Israel's genocide. So what is it? It just like doesn't make sense. On the one hand, you're arresting these motherfuckers. On the other hand, you're like, but they're right. These people that we're arresting, they're actually right. And we should take some action. It's just we don't like their vibes. And we don't like how forceful they are with these demands. It genuinely feels like, yeah, 450 people were arrested in London today. Okay? 400. London police arrest 150. This is from 6 hours ago. I think there's more now. I've heard numbers that range from 300 to 450. Okay? And it's like, what are we doing? On the one hand, they're like, hey guys, your protests are working. Your protests are working. You see? You made us do something on Israel. But shut the fuck up. Otherwise, you're gonna get clapped. Look at this dangerous terrorist arrested. Let me guess, a grandma. Oh, it's a disabled blind man in a wheelchair. That's crazy. That's like the guy you are not supposed to arrest, bro. If you want to look like a decent force, if you want to look like a decent force for good, an elderly blind person in a wheelchair is like the last guy, optics wise. This is the last guy you want to arrest. Someone said he's had it too good for too long. Fuck him. Dang, old blind wheelchair guy should have free reign to terrorize all society. Yes. Unironically, dude. What are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, I know you're joking, but like low key, yes, bro. Yes. Oh, there it is. 81-year-old woman was arrested by the Metropolitan Police during a protest in Parliament Square, London, for holding a placard in support of Palestine Action. The demonstration led to 365 arrests as protesters challenged the government's decision to ban the organization. Bro, they can't even walk her. Okay? They can't even walk her straight. Like, they literally cannot walk her properly. That's how old she is. Oh my God. At some point, you got to be like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, if you're a cop that's doing that, you have to just literally be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, you have no free will. You're not like, they let far-right protesters go in England today with no arrest. Oh, for sure. Bro, they barely fucking made arrests when dudes were like throwing Molotov cocktails at a hotel where migrants were staying at. They made like a couple arrests for I guess like the people that agitated online. The amount of apprehension you see at anti-Israel protests, if that was stable and adjusted to the crimes that are being committed, right-wingers would be getting shot by the cops. Okay? They are literally like firebombing mosques and shit in England. There was people forget, like there was a pogrom, an unsuccessful, failed pogrom that took place in England right after the Labour victory. Like they did that. There was like the Rwandan teenager who like stabbed those little girls. And everyone was like, oh, this is like I mean, he was Rwandan British, right? Like he was an English citizen, right? He was a British citizen, but they were like, oh, he's, this is a Muslim terrorist refugee. And then all hell broke loose. They were like, oh, we got to kill every migrant we can. And people were like, oh, they're staying at this hotel. They're staying at that hotel. People were going to the hotels that they suspected migrants were staying at and firebombing it. Yeah, he was Welsh. He's in Wales. Thank God they're fucking too stupid to actually successfully pull off a goddamn pogrom. Like, it was crazy. That didn't stop him from trying, though. You got fucking straight lynch mobs. Meanwhile, this is the level of attention that we afford to grandmothers who hold up Palestine action placards. It's good. Oh my God, look how scary she is, bro. Look at how scary she is. You don't understand. This is the face of terror. A lot of you are demanding this criminal not go to prison for 14 years, which is the charge, by the way. That is, if you get convicted of supporting a prescribed terror organization, which they have added Palestine Action to, you can go to prison for 14 years. As a death sentence? I mean, yeah, if 100%. Like, this is crazy, man. Every single person that's involved in this should feel a deep sense of shame for participating in this fucking idiotic song and dance, dude. Clearly, she's been paid by Hamas. Yeah. Leader of the UKIP. He's doing a Nazi salute at the end, by the way. Fucking Poundland Mosey. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, you can't anymore. It's like Ausländer raus is what it means now. Sorry. You can't enjoy that song anymore. He even has the armband, dude. That's crazy. He even has the armband. Wonderful contribution to the world from us has been the fucking lame-ass Trump dance. These motherfuckers, they do the lame-ass Trump dance and then the fucking Sig Heil. Great stuff, man. These guys are way, way too comfortable. Something's got to change. Yeah. 80-year-old grandma gets arrested for supporting Palestine Action, which is on the right side against the genocide that Israel is committing. Meanwhile, you got people in UKIP doing Nazi salutes, but hey, that's not a dangerous, scary terror organization like the fucking Palestine Action people are, you know? It's so cooked. It's so fucking cooked. It sucks so bad. All right. I think I'm gonna end it here because we're gonna hit traffic to go to the airport. So this is a short half day, like literal half day stream. 5 hours. I love you guys. I'll be live tomorrow, I hope. But I'm back. I mean, I think so. I think I'm gonna be live tomorrow. But wanted to show you a little bit of a different experience on the weekend, you know? Are you not going to casting? No, man, I'm flying out. What the fuck? I told you. That's why I can't go to Cat's thing, because I'm flying back. My mom's birthday. Anyway, love you guys, and that'll be all for today. Yeah, we got to still pack up over here. And what the fuck? What the hell? All right. Anyway, like I said, there's a lot going on. But I hope you guys enjoy Chicago. I certainly did. Peace, everybody. Shouts out to Mark.
Sunny Los Angeles, California, says Hassan. The starlight to the starlight to the topic just begun. There he is again, Hassan is streaming. Hassan is streaming. There he is again. Hassan is streaming. Hassan is streaming. at your door. H3 crowded up, bathe the young Turks on.
Damn, this guy's good.